All right, let's go ahead and add a dynamic stretch grip to this block. So we have a block here, and we're going to grip it, pick it, and do a BE for block editor. So we get into our block editor. The reason I picked it is so that it chooses the block that I want to edit. I'm going to say OK, and now we're in the block editor. So I have two polylines here that have rounded corners on them. And the first thing we need to do is we need to add a parameter or understand what this action requires. So the stretch action, we can utilize a point, a linear, a polar, and or an X and Y. I'm going to go over the point, linear, and X and Y. Polar is kind of the similar. So if I pick the point, I'll go ahead and pick center over here. And then I'm going to go ahead and pick the action and do a stretch, pick the parameter, and then I'm going to pick the cutting edge on where I want to stretch. So if I want to stretch this part where that cuts through, that's going to stretch, right? And then it asks me to select the object. So I'm going to select this object and press enter, and then I'll set my action next to my parameter. And then I'm going to save, go ahead and test the object. And once we get in here, you'll notice that we have a new grip, and I can pick that, and now I can move that and stretch it anywhere. It does some weird stuff. If you turn ortho on, it can stay in line, but it basically gives you the capabilities of moving that in multiple directions. So let's go ahead and take a look at the linear. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that, and I'm going to go up on my parameters, and I'm going to pick linear, and I'm going to pick the center point of this circle, and then I'm going to pick the center point of the other circle, and so now I have a linear stretch command. Now, something to notice with this parameter, if you grip it, in the past we've talked about having a single grip on a linear, but I'm going to keep two grips on this linear, but I'm going to set the base location to the middle for this exercise. So what's going to happen is by setting that to middle, when I stretch one of these out in either directions, it's going to stretch via the center. And the way to get it to do that is we'll go ahead and set two actions. We're going to go ahead and set the stretch action. So we're going to pick the parameter, and then it's going to say, well, where do you want to stretch from? Well, I want to stretch from this side, right? And so I picked that, and then it asked me for my first corner for my stretch cut. So I'm going to pick that, and then I'm going to pick my object that I want to stretch, and I'm going to press enter. I'm going to keep it over here so I know that that stretch is being applied to that side. And then I'm going to go ahead and do an additional stretch action, same parameter, but then I'm going to pick this side. See the little red X there? I'm going to pick this side, and then it asks me for a frame again. So I'm going to pick across that. Now notice I only want this object to stretch, so I'm picking the object that I want to stretch. I don't want this one to stretch at all in this case. So I'm going to press enter, and then I'm going to set my action over here. So now when I save and I test, cross our fingers, that should stretch based on the center of the stretch. Kind of neat, huh? So if you didn't have two actions and you only want one side to stretch out, you could change the grip to one grip and only do your stretch from one side. But that's how you get it to stretch via the center. The next thing that I want to show is the XY parameter and what we can do with that. So when we take a look at the X and Y parameter, we go ahead and pick the parameter, and it asks for a couple of different points. So I'm going to pick the center here, and then I'm also going to pick the node. I have a node out here that is basically in line with the center here and in line with the center here. So I'm going to pick the node out there. Let's start this over. So I'm going to pick the center here, and then I'm going to pick the node up here. Not up there, it's up there. There it is. Okay, so now that we have the XY parameter in there, let's take a look at the actions. So I'm going to do another stretch action. I'm going to pick the parameter, and then it asks me for my cutting, my where I want to stretch from. And so I'm going to pick this end here. See the little red X. And then it asks me where do I want to cut. Well, I want to cut here, and I want to stretch that object. So I press enter, and I'm going to leave my action, my stretch action over here, so I know that that's happening for here. Then I'm going to go ahead and add another stretch, pick my same parameter. It's going to ask me where I want my X to go. I want it to be up in this corner, right? So I press that and pick that corner. And what do I want to stretch my cutting edge? So I pick that, and then I'm going to pick the object that I want to stretch and press enter. And then I'm going to put my little stretch action up over here because I know that's what's going to happen over there. Now, let's see what that's given to us, or what's that allowed us to do. So what happens is that if we grip this, we'll notice we have 4 grips. One thing that allows us to do is that we have this grip going on here, and we can turn our ortho on, and so now I'm stretching this one edge out, right? That's cool. I can pick this grip and it stretches this edge out. That's neat also. This grip here, if we pick this grip, I can stretch it up this way or I can stretch it out this way. If I turn ortho on, depending on where I put it, both of those move independently. I think that's pretty valuable in a block, right? Like if you wanted a countertop further out that way and shorter in, or however you were moving around, you could utilize those stretch grips for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close and save the changes. Show you that this grip or this block is complete. I have my stretch over here, ortho's on. I can stretch that individually, or I can move these around. So that is the stretch, the dynamic stretch grip, how you add it to a block. Thanks for watching.